Thank you, Senator Brown. And Director Reeder, appreciate your coming today, and more importantly, the help you've given us already on this commission. PBGC, as some of you know, has some real experts in this area, and your Assistant General Counsel, Connie Markakis, and your actuary, Julie Cameron, come highly recommended, and we need them.
And we miss them.
Thanks for letting us borrow them. This is tough, and you know, your testimony today was very sobering because it lays out clearly the huge challenge that we face. You were just talking back and forth about when PBGC might go insolvent, and it sounds like 2025 is the year that you've kind of focused on understanding there could be some changes that push that a little forward or a little bit back. That's only 7 years from now, and that's PBGC insolvency, which is sort of the most dramatic of the potential problems that we face. And to me, the drastic cuts in the earned pensions, again, we talked a lot about that today, what that is. But if you go insolvent, it's about a 90% cut probably to the Central States Fund, the Teamsters. Is that about right?
Yes. It's on the order of that.
And then the impacts to the broader economy. Central States has said that the insolvency of their fund alone would result in less than half of the promised full benefits. And again, if 400,000 Teamsters see the PBGC go under in 7 short years, then it's about 90%. Is that about right?
Yes.
And how about the mine workers? There, as I understand it, there are about 76,000 mine workers who would lose, on average, about 21% of their promised benefits if their plan goes insolvent. And of course, much deeper cuts if PBGC goes under. What would it be for the mine workers if the PBGC runs out of money?
They would be cut down to about the same level as
About the same as the Teamsters.
but not percentage-wise, because their benefits are lower. But they would the dollar amount would be cut down to the same amount.
Yeah, pretty modest pensions there with the mine
Yes.
workers. Average about $600 a year, right?
Very small. The retirees are averaging lower than the actives. The actives would suffer more because their
Yeah.
benefits are richer.
Active about 10,000, retirees about 100,000, mine workers.
That sounds right.
Is that about right?
I have the numbers in here, but
Yeah, it's upside
Oh,
down. In other words, that's a big problem.
Yes, sir.
And already, again, the benefits are very modest. Then there's probably over 100 additional multi-employer plans that are at risk, right, in addition to those 2 big ones.
130.
And so, you know, I don't think most of my colleagues in the broader Congress are focused on this yet, but I think these numbers, we've got to get out there and talk about it. Could you talk a little about the cost to the government of ensuring guaranteed financial assistance payments the longer we wait? In other words, for the government, and I would say to the taxpayer, what's the danger of waiting?
We would just have to raise the same amount over a much shorter period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're talking about 16 billion over 10.
And that's just to keep PBGC.
I thought that was your question, but
Yeah.
but just PBGC afloat. And if the longer you wait, the more compact that number will
So the
be.
16 billion over 10 years is your calculation.
Yes.
And you're saying that if we were to wait a couple of years, you're going to have more requirements in a shorter period of time.
And a shorter period of time to ramp up to the higher premiums.
Can you talk for a second about the contagion effect? I do have employers come to see me quite often, very concerned about the impact on their solvency, and if there were an insolvency by one of the big plans, or certainly by PBGC, you know, the possibility that their liability would be such that they would become bankrupt. And we understand that, and a lot of small businesses in Ohio are very concerned about that. But could you talk a little about the broader contagion on the economy and what you think would happen based on your experience?
Well, we don't have a lot of experience with big plans going under. So
There's actually been nothing like this ever in history.
Right.
But let's assume that we do not act and we allow the status quo to continue. because we have gridlock here, we can't get anything done, we can't figure out a solution, all the answers are tough, and we end up with a situation where these plans go insolvent, but also PBGC in 7 short years goes insolvent. What's the impact on the economy?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think that there will be very dire consequences for the communities where many of these people live. I do believe that there is a possibility of contagion affecting other plans that are much more healthy. We can't measure that yet, and we're working on that.
But talk about, what does contagion mean?
Well, the contagion I normally hear when people are using the word in the context of the multi-employer world is when a plan, a large plan, doesn't necessarily have to even be large, but when a plan goes under, but its contributing employers also contribute to other plans. And there is a hypothesis that if a plan goes under and incurs mass withdrawal liability that puts those companies under, that could affect the health of many other plans. And this is particularly true in the Teamster world.
Yeah. So let's be specific. When the contractors were in this week talking about infrastructure, I asked them about pensions. Some of these contractors have as many as 5 different multi-employer plans. So they may have a plan with the carpenters, they may have a plan with the Teamsters, they may have plans with other operators, and you're saying that if one of the big plans goes under, let's say the Teamsters plan, that company will not be able to make its premium payments to the other plans as well, and the contagious issue is that there's contagion with these other plans. Is that accurate?
Well, that's the hypothesis. One big variable is that a lot of these plans, such as 707, will not actually terminate and will not actually trigger mass withdrawal liabilities. And employers will just continue to contribute to the plan. It's a little bit sad because they're contributing to an insolvent plan, but it doesn't put the employers under. And I would suspect that many of the plans that go under in the near future, especially the big ones, will be hard-pressed to terminate and declare a mass withdrawal. So that's the big variable in measuring how serious contagion effect really is.
Yeah. Well, I think the broader impact, my time is well over, I apologize, Mr. Chairman, but I think that's the bigger issue we've got to talk about too, is this is, as bad as it is for these retirees and for these individual plans, it also has a broader impact on our economy, not just the local communities will obviously be affected, but the larger economy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.